guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be having a conversation about everything going on in the Pokemon market with LGSs, online retailers, and if the Pokemon company is looking at going in a different direction in terms of sending a lot of their exclusive products to big box retailers instead. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. As always, getting out of the way, if you want to enter into our weekly giveaways, all you have to do is be subscribed, leave a like, and comment down below on any of the pre-recorded videos we post each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As always as well, you can comment and like in each video, which allows you for multiple entries, and then of course 3 winners each and every week, so multiple opportunities to enter and multiple opportunities to win. But jumping into today's topic, so I have a couple of things I feel like I really wanted to discuss for today, really wanted to address, and this is starting off with the, of course, point of contention, which is, as mentioned before in some of my previous videos, we haven't really seen a ton of new product that's been pushed out. Sure, we had the Virizion boxes and we had a couple of tins, but a lot of the, more or less Arceus, premium collection boxes and so on and so forth have been pushed to be exclusive items only available to big box retailers. Here and there, we've seen small amounts of product, of course, outside of the UPC. There hasn't really been much that's been going on, of course, in terms of LGSs being able to access a lot of sealed product or online retailers. And so you kind of got to ask yourself why specifically this is happening. And then an incident happened today, and it made me kind of wonder, maybe this is kind of the direction the Pokemon company is going for a certain reason. So for those of you guys that don't know, there's been a lot of reports from online retailers that have been struggling with their overall product purchase orders because basically with the drops that have been happening on the Pokémon Center website, you've seen these Pokemon Ultra Premium Charizard collection boxes drop cheaper and cheaper in price. I mean, just if you were a part of our live stream yesterday, we had it drop literally live in the middle of when I was going, and I'm pretty sure everyone that was on stream was able to get access to the UPCs for MSRP on the site. So, we live stream Tuesday and Thursday, so don't miss out on any of those cool opportunities that happen. But with that, prices, of course, have been dropping and people have been canceling a lot of their orders. And it's really just been overall affecting LGSs, because when you really think about, like I said, going back to it with the product that's been available most recently, there hasn't been a ton of opportunity for LGSs to make any sort of profit because, booster boxes are pretty much almost really close to wholesale being $86. So after shipping, after fees, it's basically break even, if not no money involved, unless you're selling it without shipping. And then, of course, the Virizion V boxes are really thin margin, and everything else has been just shipped out to big box retailers. And so finally, a lot of these, of course, online retailers, local game stores, finally had the opportunity to make some money on sealed product. What, of course, ended up happening is people, like I said before, were making a ton of refunds. And so with that, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of actually a message that was from Safari Zone. For those of you guys that are unaware of who they are, basically the mad white woman is what the name of the individual who we are referencing in this one. They more or less sent a very blunt message talking about how they were more or less going to be banning a bunch of people if they decided to ask for a refund on their bundle that they had with the Ultra Premium collections, and of course ban them from any sort of future Silver Tempest. Now, do I agree necessarily with the bluntness of the approach? I, of course, do not. I think there's always a better way to handle things. I definitely would say that I personally would not handle it that way. I tried to take pride in the customer service that we have around here. But in terms of the frustration, it's very much understandable. I totally get it, where you have certain prices that you feel like you're giving people a good deal at the time, and you feel like you have that customer relationship with these individuals that are coming in, buying your product, and there's that kind of mutual understanding of, hey, I'm giving you a good deal on the product, you're buying this product, leading up to, of course, the release of the set. But then, of course, if product changes, there is that expectation of the store owner that you're not going to refund and upcharge them in the future, or skyrocket and change the price and more or less, scalp, I guess, as an LGS owner. And there's that expectation, too, that if prices, of course, do end up going down in price, that you're not going to cancel your pre-orders because you're being very much both mutually respectful of one another's time and money, and not trying to, screw the other one out of an opportunity, And of course, I feel like this is what this more or less message is trying to address here in terms of how a lot of LGSs and online retailers are feeling at the moment. So the question, of course, going back to it, has to be asked: is this an issue that the Pokemon Company is trying to address, where a lot of LGSs nowadays, if we're being completely honest, have been failing? Sure, of course, going into a recession plays a major factor on a lot of LGSs kind of failing in terms of hobby stores, but I would say with razor thin prices on sealed product and a lot of LGSs being heavily reliant on sealed product, I think the Pokemon Company is trying to make a general transition in terms of pushing a lot of their product at big box retailers, knowing that they can just put it on a rollback, or since they're buying in such large quantities, they can give it to them at cheaper prices, all these other factors that are at play. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you could see a potential transition in the future of that. Now, don't get me wrong, I think booster boxes are here to stay and ETBs are here to stay in terms of giving it out to local game stores and such, because I do think that they're a huge, part of the LGS experience. And same thing goes with pre-release kits, especially when you're doing pre-release kit events. But just outside of that, a lot of, just specialty items, I wouldn't be surprised, and not like ultra premium collections, but specialty items like the Arceus V premium collection box that of course we thought was going to have a Cosmic Clip pack in it, and it didn't. The Evolution premium collection boxes for GameStop, right, that have the whole Evolution set of it, just a bunch of EVVs, like a lot of these items that you would usually see as like an item to be sold for LGSs, but that aren't, kind of like, remember the Cleaver and Lucario Vs? Well, my distributor sold them to me for 50% off wholesale, 50% off wholesale. So it was buy one, get one free. It's crazy how you saw that kind of take a major effect, and it was actually hurting distributors as well, because they just a ton of dead product that they couldn't sell. So I think that's honestly a potential future adjustment that's to be made on that. And now, once again, you can have your criticisms going both ways, right? Obviously, with the Pokemon Company raising the price of MSRP, for those of you guys that don't know, they've of course made announcements in Japan about it. It looks like it's also coming to the US, and you've already seen those adjustments being made in big box retailers. It's a lot easier for that to happen in big box retailers than it is LGSs and so on and so forth, because they don't follow that MSRP tag, right? But if you filter all of that MSRP tag into big box retailers, then what's kind of stopping that volatility from the product, going up and down? So it just kind of makes sense that they're going that general direction to kind of, more or less in their mind, keep product at certain prices, so there isn't that same, issue, which of course is still currently happening with booster boxes. So I'm quite interested, of course, to see what your guys' thoughts are and what your guys' opinion is on this, and whether you think, of course, this is a good thing for the market, whether you think this is a bad thing for the market. Personally, I would have to say, you can look at it one of two ways. Obviously, it's been a very toxic relationship in terms of the back and forth between LGSs recently. You hear a lot of resentment towards, why are they charging so much? They shouldn't be charging this much in prices, and they're scalping and blah, 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 blah. And I get that, but also then you're saying, well, they haven't had an opportunity to make money off a sealed product because margins are so thin, and this is their chance to finally do it because certain products are high up. So it's almost like making them look like the bad guy, but then sometimes they do it to themselves and make themselves look like the bad guy, I don't know how many LGS shops that I've recently been going into, since we're opening one ourselves and kind of scouting out the competitors, where we've walked into a store, felt very unwelcome, felt very much in a place where you're like, yeah, this doesn't feel like you're valuing the customer, and you're really just here because you want to own your own hobby shop because you think it's fun, and you're more distracted with playing with the cards than you are with trying to sell one to your customers, So I get that. There's that, not everyone is safe from blame, I should say, in that regard. And I would ultimately say too, there's a lot of opportunity in terms of running a successful LGS nowadays. With the bulk side of things, of course, being at an all-time low, and you're starting to see events finally open up since we've been, of course, closed during COVID, there should be a ton of opportunities for a lot of these LGSs to be successful. But like I mentioned before, I feel like there's a lot of people that are in this hobby for the wrong reasons. They're in it because they want to be a hobbyist. And I know, as much as people want to flame me a lot about this in terms of talking about how there's an investment side of things when it comes to Pokemon, and people are like, no, it should only be for fun. It should only be for collecting. Well, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, of course, there's a lot of people with that mentality that have open LGSs and they've failed because of it, because you have to be able to respect the investing side of things, respect the business side of things, and it shouldn't be the duty, more or less, of an LGS to be open just to make razor thin margins and live paycheck to paycheck, unable to either support themselves or their family or things, just solely off of sealed product. And that's why, of course, there's always going to be other methods in terms of being able to make revenue off of, centering around the tournaments, centering around the events, and that's more or less what Pokemon has usually been pretty good with. They've always been very self-aware, of course, when it comes to making events possible, because they know that events bring in more people into the hobby in a competitive scene, and competitive cards, of course, for bulk become the lifeline of a lot of LGSs. But when you're seeing a lot of stores that are very much new to the hobby, that don't really know much about Pokemon or don't know much about Pokemon bulk, then of course they're not taking advantage of these opportunities, and so because of that, they're failing. And overall, if there's not places for tournaments or events to be hosted, then the Pokemon game as a whole dies. So I think there's definitely a huge need for that right now in terms of just overall an upgrade. I mean, just in the state of Oregon, right? The nearest tournament available for just regionals, it's in Idaho. You don't have one in the entire state. I've talked to some people over in the area, and here and there they'll run tournaments, but it's not like an actual sanctioned event, right? You got to travel to California, you got to travel to Idaho for that, you got to travel all the way to a completely different state, and so I think it's actually a healthy, I would say, more or less, for the Pokemon company to really start to focus on pushing the competitive aspect of the game. I know a lot of people aren't, of course, the biggest fan of the game itself, because the mechanics are, they care more about the collecting side of things. Don't get me wrong, but you have to still be able to respect each aspect of the hobby and know, of course, that this is what the future of Pokemon is going to have to look like to survive for a lot of these LGSs. Otherwise, if you're okay with these LGSs not surviving, then I guess it's going to be, realistically at this point, Pokemon as a competitive space dying, and then as Pokemon dies as a competitive space, then of course product becomes more expensive, because it's now no longer being sold to just LGSs. It's now only being exclusively sold to big box retailers and maybe online retailers. But even then, what's the incentive at that point to sell to online retailers when they're not, of course, helping bring any sort of event space to the hobby, other than, sure, they're buying product, but what's stopping big box retailers from accepting booster boxes to be added onto their shelves than just breaking them down and selling them as individual packs, and that's just, I feel like, a crazy part of just the general situation we're heading towards right now in the market. And I'm not saying here or there in terms of like doomsday scenario of like, is Pokemon dying, blah blah. I'm not like, I'm optimistic about the future of the hobby as a whole. However, I will say that the future as a whole for the hobby looks like it's going to have to adapt, or it is adapting to a different style of how things are going to be pushed. But ultimately, at the end of the day, of course, I want to get your guys' opinion on this. Do you think this is a good thing going forward with the hobby? What do you think is a good alternative? Do you think it more or less should be something that should be restrictions in terms of being open, being able to open an LGS, and it's not just specifically exclusive to those that want to open it and just take out a loan or have cash flow? Or do you think that this should be something that Pokemon just takes over and they're the ones that are in control of prices? Obviously you can have your opinions on free market, and if someone sucks at their business, they die, and vice versa. But of course, there's some other factors in play in terms of the the bloodline of the game itself of Pokemon, which is a huge factor into how Pokemon is able to push out product for people to sell, and for of course bulk to be able to survive. So just want to get your guys' thoughts on that overall. But I think we're going to wrap it up here. A little bit of a shorter video today. Just want to thank once again everyone so much for watching. As always, you want to enter into weekly giveaways, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We post pre-recorded content for you to so each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And of course, since you can comment and like on each video, that allows you for 3 entries. And then as well, we have 3 winners each and every week. But as far as it goes, that is all for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Friday. Peace.